Welcome to the Wally Show Aftercast, all the stuff we did not get to during the course of the show today. We are going to do a show lunch today with Gavin, Haley, his wife, and Bennett. They haven't gotten back to you. Again, when you have a new baby, like your hands are full. They're supposed to come up for an appointment, and then we're going to do lunch, but we haven't heard back from him yet. So, see how that goes.
We'll see how it goes.
I know. That's the one thing. When you have friends, like when your friends start having kids, you can no longer depend on them for anything. Like, that's what happened. We finally just had to like jump on that train. Like, some of our best friends had a kid, and then we're like, well, they can't do anything. We try to go out, try to do stuff. They can't do anything. It was like, well, I guess let's have a kid then.
Yeah, it's tough because this happens to me all the time, and it's easy to take it personal, and I try not to take it personal, but it means your text messages don't get answered. It means you just don't see them and that often. Or it means that when you hang out, the kids have to come. I think it's different for men, that they can get away more with not taking the kids with them.
Yeah, like very
Whereas
rarely.
With the moms, no.
Yeah, do you see a dad with a baby Bjorn playing golf?
Right.
And it does seem that the guys do get that time off. Like, hey, I'm going to go play golf with the buddies, and then the mom's still with the kid.
Yeah, and the kids don't care because they want mom. But when mom goes out, then it's like this whole ordeal. And then at the end, it's like, well, we need to cut things short because I feel bad. He's there all by himself with the kids.
Yeah,
it's like, well, he made those kids too.
Right, yeah. And I always tried to spell my wife like, now in our relationship, the vast majority of it did fall on her because that's how we structured it. We structured it like, okay, I'm going to work really hard so you don't have to work, and you can be there for our child all the time. So that was the plan. And so that she knew going in that the majority was going to fall on her. But then I always tried to spell her. I'm like, yeah, do the bunko thing with your friends. Do the nights out with your friends. Like, I want you to do that.
But
and
then
I've
she
got
didn't
her.
want to because you would play hide and seek and then lose her.
One time. That happened one time. And when I found out my kid is great at hide and seek. But yeah, there were some times that, like, the difficult thing about it is dads are never going to watch or raise your kid the way you do as a mom. It's just not the same. And moms have to let that go. They're going to come home and you're like, you took her to the store like that? Yeah, I did. She did her own hair. It's great. Like it's a different set of standards, and I think you drive yourself crazy trying to expect your husband to do it the way that you do it. And then that causes tension and stuff too. I think you
that
just
can be
have
a life lesson for multiple things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The way that my wife and I have existed over the years, for 36 years we've been together.
She just gave up?
Yeah, she quit trying, and it's worked out for both of us. No, it's like that you have to give each other that space to be them, even if it's not what you necessarily enjoy or like, kind of thing. Like, I know that there's things that I do that are not the way she would do things and be frustrated by them or what have you, and she's gotten really good at just kind of like laughing about it, being like, well, that's him, and I do the same thing for her. And it actually has helped versus trying to make someone into the thing you think they should be, because they never will be, and so if you learn to love them for who they are and celebrate all the other things, the 90% of the other stuff that they do that's great, and it does meet your expectations, and let that other 10% go. Now, if you're at 1090 the other way, you probably made a bad decision getting married or what have you, So, well, hopefully we will be out to lunch with them and give you an update on Baby Bennett later. I hate when you see things that ruin something for you that you loved. Like, I loved the movie The Blind Side. Did you see that with...
with Sandra Bullock.
Yes. And the story of Michael
Yeah,
Orr.
it was really sweet, really great. I love Sandra Bullock. I loved her accent. Yeah.
Tim McGraw is good in it.
Tim McGraw was nice to look at.
Yeah, I didn't say that, but he was good in it.
You wanted to, though.
Yeah, I did. But I thought it was such a great movie. But years later now, you hear of all the lawsuits that Michael Orr is bringing against the Toohey family, and kind of how it devolved for him. It's really sad. He's speaking out about this and about the film. He said, the first time I heard I Love You, it was Sean and Leanne saying it. Okay, well, do you think, oh, that's great. Like, if you don't know the story, he was this kid that really didn't have anywhere to go, and he was this poor black kid, and this wealthy white family adopts him, in essence, and they give him a place to live, and they help him go to school, help him get into college and all this stuff, and help him play professional football. And so you're like, oh, that's a really nice thing. But Orr had told New York Times, says when that happens to you and they say they love you at 18, you become vulnerable. You let your guard down and you get everything stripped away from you. It turns into hurt feelings. I don't want to make this about race, but I found out that nobody says I love you more than coaches and white people. And when black people say it, they mean it. I'm like, that's really interesting from his perspective in this, and I get like coaches want to manipulate you to get the best performance out of you, but I think that's a big overgeneralization and almost a little racist as well, because I speak life into my daughter all the time. I don't want her to go a day without knowing that she is loved and cherished. And maybe I say it too much, but I'd rather err on that side. One of the biggest problems, if you talk to anybody about the black community, and one of the biggest problems that exists in that is dads aren't there. Dads have walked away from that responsibility for whatever reason, and so young men especially, are growing up without dads, and they flounder, and they need someone there telling them that they love them.
Is he saying, though, that because they kept giving him the message of that they love him, his walls were down, and so he let them get away with bad?
Kind of, yeah, is what he's saying. He's like
they treated him bad?
He's saying that they basically took money from him and that they set him up into a conservatorship, that kind of like when Britney was in a conservatorship and her dad controlled her money. Yeah. And so I'm on a first name basis with her. But so they had this over him where they could control his finances. And so this didn't end until, oh my goodness, when was it? When was it? I forgot, till 2023. They had a conservatorship over him till 2023, which that seems long to me. Like the minute the guy is like an adult, he came into their life as an 18-year-old, so he's already an adult, but they needed to get him grounded and get him moving forward. But the minute he goes and he graduates college and he's out in the NFL being his own guy, that's when the conservatorship should probably have stopped. But then they argue he wasn't prepared to handle any of this stuff, and we needed to handle it with him. And so there's hurt feelings on both sides. Now there's lawyers involved, and none of it looks like the blind side that made me feel so good.
And that's sad because it could keep people from wanting to help one another. Because it could turn around and then be a bad thing instead.
Yeah, not worth the headaches, But I mean, I would think that if setting some of the emotions aside, and kind of what we were talking about, getting down to the real on things with people. We did this in the show talking about, retraining your brain. And so if he could sit down and look at it objectively and go, all right, where was my life headed at 18? It was a dead end road. Mm-hmm. And look where I am now. I played, 3-4 years in the NFL. I accomplished things I never would have been able to accomplish. Mm-hmm. I would hope that he could look at that and appreciate that and maybe see that, okay, was there abuse or am I being fed into people telling me this?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who is speaking into his life. And obviously there's some kind of miscommunication there, because I would think if he thought that bad about them, he stopped talking to them. There's no communication anymore.
Well, I watched my daughter do this in college. She became this different person, and she became a product of people speaking into her lives. She was around all these drama kids, and they were all just filled with personal drama and anxiety and depression, and we're all so sad and blah, 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 blah. And she started to pull that persona into her. Mm-hmm. And it became self-fulfilling. And I think that happens a lot of times. The people that we have in our lives influence us positively or negatively. And for her, it sidetracked her for a hot second, And so I was glad to hear in conversations that she and I have had since then, where she's in this way better place, now. And so mentally, and she's healthy, and she realizes what that was, because I'm and I even told her one time when she was going through it, as a parent, you're trying to figure out how to help them navigate this. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard. And I remember telling her, I said, I don't believe this is you. I think you are taking on a persona like an actor, and I think you're buying into something that's a lie. and I don't know any other way to tell you this than to just tell you, because I love you, I'm going to tell you what I believe is truth. You know, and so it was cool, like years later when we had these conversations, and to see her at a much better place, that I feel good that I was honest with her, but it's really hard to do and handle things with adult kids sometimes.
No, for sure.
Because you don't want to undo them either. You want, it's that balance of like tough love. You want to love them and you want to tell them truth, but then you also know sometimes when they're overly fragile, that they insensitive, that you can undo them with that truth. And how much you give when you give it is really difficult. Like we always had things with my wife, because we didn't talk to her all that much all the time, you know, and so it's like every time we talked, we would always have these big conversations. And I finally was telling Marty, I'm like, every conversation we have with her can't be these big things. And she's like, but we don't talk to her that much. She kind of isolated. So she's like, we have to when we get that moment. I'm like, let's go every other time then. You know, like let's make so that she doesn't want to pull away from us. Because if she thinks she's going to have a big conversation every time she talks to us, she's going to limit us in her life. You know, and I don't want that. So I'm like, let's keep it light. You know, and the next time we'll deal with, you know, some of the bigger stuff. So it's definitely
and then
not.
you just load on her.
Oh, there were a couple.
And then there was this and this and this
yeah.
and this.
Yeah, and my wife is really good at that. She does it to me all the time, so she can.
And rightfully so.
Probably so. Yeah, actually. No, I'm actually kidding about that. Marty's really great about trying to not unload. But she definitely wanted to solve problems, you know, and help her. I mean, that's her heart was to help her daughter, you know. Lady Rock, what do you got?
Well, you know, the way that the economy is right now, it is difficult to go out and eat with friends. And we've talked about this, that's mainly the thing that everybody does when you're hanging out. You go out and eat.
Celebrate with food.
And it's getting just ridiculous. You're going to go broke with just having friends.
$9, French fries and a soda the other day.
And that was just by himself.
By myself. $9.49.
So I found this article that was all about how this woman, she was going out to eat with a friend at a cafe and go to sit down, and her friend pulls out a jar of pre-made overnight oats that she had made. Okay. So she starts eating that at the cafe. She had ordered a coffee.
Okay.
And got the coffee, but that's all she wanted was the coffee.
Respect, I get it.
And there was the girl that wrote the article. She was like, I thought, man, that's pretty smart, because now I'm $30 in for a nice coffee and a brunch meal.
Because the reality is, like, I think if you go to a place, like there are people that go to coffee shops and they stay there all day long. I think that's a little much. Like, this is my office, you know, like that's a lot. You know, they need to turn tables and get things moving. But if you're at a place and you're going to say bring in your food or whatever, which they don't like, you should buy something from that place.
And she did.
And I think that to me, there's zero wrong in that scenario.
Well, you would be from the minority?
No. Were people like bent?
Well, there was a cafe barista, manager, I don't know, that approached this woman and said, hey, you can't be in here with your own food. You're going to have to leave. And so they had to leave. And this girl that wrote the article, she was like, there's a reason why, though, people are doing this.
Right.
You know, that they're bringing their own food. For instance, she was out another time and they were playing like trivia night or something. And the friend that she was with was vegan. And that place that they were at just didn't have a good menu for vegans.
No place, even vegan places, have a good place, good menu for vegans.
So this friend of hers did a DoorDash thing.
That's
and
so great.
They delivered food to her friend
from another restaurant.
That's
funny.
And of course, they didn't like it, but this friend was like, well, you don't have any options for me as a vegan.
Right. I've gone to Chick-fil-A before, and with my wife, because she wanted Chick-fil-A and I wanted Panda Express, and there's one like two things down. So we sat at Chick-fil-A because the experience is good, and and my wife ordered from Chick-fil-A. I went and got Panda Express, walked in, just sat there and ate.
I don't see an issue with that.
Who cares? Like, and good places realize it's not a big deal. I like, you could win that battle and lose the war.
Well, and two, when you think about going to a cafe, let's say, and you're going to order your coffee and brunch or whatever, and it comes to $30, probably 20 of that or more is from tipping, because they want you to tip them. And then you might have to clean your own table. You might, your coffee might not be how you expected it to be. But tipping is getting out of control
for sure.
as well. And so it's just getting too expensive to have friends and to hang out. Or if you're going to hang out, don't eat.
I bring my own water to the movie theater, my grape water, because they don't have like water that I like. And I've been trying to lose the weight, and so like I don't get the big soda anymore. But I always buy popcorn. Like I always buy popcorn from them. Because we've got the refillable bucket. And so, because I got A-list, so we go,
pretty often.
Sometimes we'll go 2 times a week, 3 times a week when the movies are good. Then we'll go a couple months without going, and then they get their money off of us. But like I always at least patronize them in that way, and I will buy the popcorn. But if anyone ever gave me static about it, I'd be like, well, do you have this water? Well, no, we don't have that water. Then it's end of conversation. It's a water. You don't have what I like.
But then they would say you need to buy bottled water from us, and you can bring in your grape powder.
I don't want that.
And add that in.
Yeah, I don't want that. Well, so I'm not hurting anybody.
You can't be here, sir.
Throw me out. I literally, there was a time where this got out of control sometime around the pandemic where just everybody had all these rules that they just made up arbitrarily and threw on them. And there was the thing about outside food and they were searching. You know how like you go to a concert and they go through your bag? They went through my wife's purse for outside food. I'm not making that up.
That's crazy.
And I literally go, are you kidding me with this right now, dude? I said, look, there's nothing in there. I mean, I don't care, but this feels like a big overstep. He's like, I know, I just have to do it. I'm like, why do you have to? Like who said, what's the reason? I don't know. Like it just, that was weird. That was really weird.
But all that to say, like, if you have considered, bringing your own food somewhere, just know you're not alone. There are other people that are doing it. One tidbit that they did give in this article, they were like, if you're going to go to brunch at a cafe and order a coffee but bring your own food, get your coffee to go in case they tell you,
good idea.
You got to leave. Or sit outside. They seem to be more, a little bit less strict.
Concerned, yeah.
When you're sitting outside.
I've seen a mom in a movie theater, like she parks all the kids, like 5 kids in a row, and then she busts out all the drinks that she's brought in her giant purse. Then she breaks out Ziploc bags of pizza and is pizzaing everybody on the thing, like Pringles, like it was way over the top. It was like a full meal, like from something else.
That happened to me too, but this was in the 90s, and we went to go see a movie. And there was 2 women that came in with like 3 or 4 or 5 kids in between them. And they all sat down, and she got out a bucket of KFC's fried chicken and passed it down. Great. And it smelled great.
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue with it because I think it is ridiculous. Yeah. Like, lower the price of the popcorn and the Cokes.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Because you're gouging people. Like, the price of your thing is overpriced.
It's too much.
When you go to... Okay, so now back in the day, they used to have, like, dine-in theaters. They were very rare. Like, now you can go to any AMC and you can have food delivered to your seat. It was very rare. And they would bring you food. It was usually, like, bar food, wings and pizza and stuff. And you had to get through the secondhand smoke because it was smoking inside at these cafes, basically, these movie cafes. And then now, though, you can order everything, have it sent to your seat. Food's actually pretty good, but it's expensive after you just spent a grip of cash to go to the movie. And then you order from there.
Given though, I don't know if I did it once and it was years ago, and I did not care for the experience. I thought it was disheveled, it was not organized, and it just seemed gross to me.
Eating in the dark is not easy either.
Yeah, and it's just not fun. And 2, you have these people that are constantly like trying to be like, excuse me, because they're trying to deliver the food. Then they're going to spill it, and usually kids are there. I didn't care for it. I don't know if they tip, but they should tip, because when you're having to deliver food in the dark
to the theater, and
not trip on stairs and stuff,
because you don't like to tip a whole lot for anything that doesn't seem like it's warranted. That one seems warranted.
Yeah, for sure.
I would tip on that.
But
sure.
The last time I went, I think I told you this. We went to go see Twisters.
Oh yeah,
maybe like 2 weeks ago. And I was disgusted at how gross that theater was.
And that surprised me, because that's the one I go to all the time.
The floor was gross. We went to the one where, they have the recline chairs.
Love that.
Which I love. But the tables that are attached are just gross and sticky. Like,
sure.
Nobody's doing their job.
It's like a tray on an airplane. You have to bring a wet wipe.
That.
Yeah. The reclining seats in a movie theater, game changer for me. And honestly, I got to where I really like the reserved seating. I still don't understand people that pick a seat right next to you. It's like, leave a seat, man.
Yeah.
I don't understand. But like the reclining seats and picking your seat and then only showing up when you want to get there. And like, hey, I don't feel like watching 47 trailers today. I'm going to get there 15 minutes later. Yeah. But sometimes, like, if you go a lot, they're the same ones.
Yeah,
and so I've seen them all a million times. Yeah. And so for me and my wife, like the airport and the movie theater are places she likes to get to a couple hours early. And so for me, like being able to run in there like 5 minutes before it's supposed to start is glorious and have your seat waiting for you. If they could warm it up, already have it reclined, that'd be even better.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, they should have like a big guy recline your seat and sit in it. And then when you get there, he's like, oh, your seat's all warm.
Ew,
yeah, that'd be awesome.
I don't know about that.
Birthdays.
We do not have any birthdays.
Oh, I got one.
Okay.
I got one here. This is from Mark. He said, hey, will you kindly wish my daughter, Andrea, her nickname by the family is B, a happy birthday. It was on the 15th, but we were in support drive. She's going to be 25. And yeah, this is the guy that said, I'm the guy with the sad story where you wish my son, Danny, happy birthday in July. And I haven't seen or spoken with him or my daughter in 3 years. And so he's still, dealing with that and the hurt of that and trying to be intentional as he can. So I really hope that one day, like, he does a birthday shout out and they're going to hear it. I think that'll be a good day for everybody. All right, that's going to do it for your Aftercast for today. And as always, thanks for being a potty.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.